Welcome back, everyone. If you could join us on the main floor, even if you're still eating, you can come and have a seat. We're going to get started again. We really hope you are enjoying the incredible vendors and the delicious food and drinks upstairs. I hear the soup. Yeah. And food down here as well. Yes, yes. Pastries and lots more to enjoy. I am so excited to now announce that our next featured artist is Andre Lopez. Woo! Andre's work is entitled Freedom, and I'm just gonna read a little bit about Andre. Andre Mandela Lopez is an Afro-Latino multidisciplinary visual artist and healing arts educator, born and raised in West End, Toronto. Andre's work is an expression of his love for humanity, often combining the Black human form and other elements from nature to explore political dynamics in a spiritual context. His academic background in political science and experience as an arts educator greatly influenced the content of his work, reflecting his passion for freedom and community. The intention driving Andre's work is to tell the truth, invite play, encourage love, and inspire revolution. Let us welcome Andre and Jaleesa on stage. Woo!
Hello?
Perfect. Hi, welcome back, everyone. I'm really excited to be joined by Andre and to chat about this beautiful artwork over here.
I'm excited to talk about it. I love talking about this stuff.
For sure. So the first question that I have is, how did you develop the concept of this project?
Um, so Samantha spoke a bit about the Adinkra symbols. Those have been coming up a lot in this past year. Um, so I've been asked to tattoo many Adinkra symbols, and this figure is made of two specifically. So the bottom part, the arms and the legs, uh, represents freedom and emancipation, and the sun represents God's child. And I knew right away when I saw those two symbols, I wanted to put them together because it reminded me of a child taking up space like this. And for me, when I think of freedom, I think of that body language of taking up space unapologetically, fully you. So I knew I wanted to do something with that. And in terms of everything that makes up the figure, all of the details and the faces and the symbolism, that was just freestyle. And it's important to me in my art that I have some structure, but I need freedom to just create. And if you see the feet are rooted into the earth, and that's a theme in much of my work is our connection to nature, because without our connection to nature, we cannot be free, and we cannot step into our true power. So it was really important to me that the energy, the childlike energy of play and our connection to nature was the forefront of this piece.
Thank you so much. And you said that part of this was freestyling?
Yes, yeah, very
That's
much
amazing. So how much of this was planning versus like intuition?
so. Just that. I knew I wanted the figure to be the main piece. I knew I wanted it to take up space and for it to be big, and everything else was free reign.
Oh, wonderful. So the next question that I have is, you sort of have a unique style, and it makes your work really identifiable.
Mm.
Oh, it looks like we lost feed. There we go. So I was wondering how you were able to develop this style and if you made any changes along the way.
So I've honestly, ever since Costa Rica, so most of the pandemic I spent in Costa Rica, and I sat with many plant medicines, including ayahuasca. And ever since then, my art has been very much full of details and intricate things that grow into each other. And before 2020, that never happened before. So part of it comes from that. And also on that trip, I bought an iPad with Procreate. So before I was an illustrator with pen or crayon or pencil crayon, and then switching to digital, I became obsessed. And it allowed me to do things that traditional media couldn't. And this is an example of one of them. So I would say, wait, what was the question again?
The question was developing your own style.
Oh yeah, so that's how it developed into this, but I've been developing my style since I was a child. Like since I could literally hold a pencil, I've been drawing. And yeah, ever since I've just been developing, I keep creating. This summer has been full of trying new things. Last summer I tried photography and clay. This summer I've been doing spray painting, tattooing, photography, and there's just no limit to our creativity, and I want to give myself the freedom to do all of it.
Wonderful, thank you. So your artwork uses color in a really interesting way. You tend to use a lot of monochromatic, like grayscale palette, and when you opt to use color, it seems that you prefer earth tones, maybe?
Yes.
So what draws you to these stylistic choices?
I think I spent most of my formative years working in charcoal and in pencil, because that's what I had access to. So thus the grayscale that we see. But now stepping more into public art and doing more graffiti work and doing more public art with Street Art Toronto and organizations like this, I realize people love color and there's a healing in color. So I've started to use more color in my work, and yeah, color it adds another dimension that grayscale can't, but also grayscale is so powerful in itself. So I like to use both. I don't want to give up one or the other. I'm a big fan of and, so I want to do both.
Great. It's interesting because the monochromatic grayscale in some of your other work reminds me of like stone carvings.
Yes.
Yeah. And your use of shape is one of my favorite things about your artwork because it reminds me of architecture.
Yes.
Specifically like Inca or Aztec architecture. Like, have you ever seen The Emperor's New Groove when you were little?
Yeah, of
So like that, it's like giving Machu Picchu.
Yeah. So that's actually part of my culture. So I'm drawing heavily from my Latin American roots and my indigenous roots on that side, and my African roots. And those are two such rich cultures to draw from. And speaking about the architectural nature, like the ancient stone carving, I do want my work to be reminiscent of that, because art is so powerful. Whether it's a famous artist or a child, it's, in my eyes, equally divine and equally like an artifact of this is a human that was here and created. And that is art, as simple as that. So I want my art to be reminiscent of that.
You're doing a great job of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So you mentioned that you draw inspiration from some symbolism. Yeah, what has this sort of been like for you? I know that you were telling us about, working with your cultural background, but you, and I think Samantha also mentioned this. I forgot what you called it.
Oh, the Adinkra symbols.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I want to say they're from Ghana originally. Ghana? West Africa. Yeah, and whether it's Adinkra symbols or any other symbol from human culture, it's just symbols have a power to them. And across cultures and across time, you see certain symbols that keep popping up because it's part of our human psyche. And there's something powerful if you draw from that. So I like to do that. One of my symbols that I resonate most with is the sun, because for me, that feels like God. That feels like happiness and like I am, you know? So that's why you also see in the piece that the head is the sun. And also with plants and flowers, you see they're always turning to the sun. And for me, that's like indicative of life itself. We're always turning to the light and towards love, you know?
Absolutely. Speaking of, what sort of inspires you?
Honestly, I'm never not inspired. Like, I don't know if that feels weird, but I'm always wanting to create. Like, there's so much coming through me. I just have to create, whether, like, sometimes I'll be at a party and I'll just be like drawing in the corner because like I need to get it out. But more tangibly, nature really inspires me. People inspire me. I've worked a lot with children and adults creating art, and I learn so much from children. Like the way they create so freely, it allows me to be free and to take it less seriously, you know? We're so indoctrinated and controlled mentally, like emancipate yourself from mental slavery, that's a very real thing. And children embody that freedom that some of us unfortunately lose or is taken from us. So I draw so much inspiration from children. Also, like Samantha said, other artists that were around. I'm so grateful to be embedded in a few different artist communities in Toronto, and they're constantly inspiring me. Like it's crazy. Like I'm so grateful. So I'm just always inspired all the time.
That's great. So you're also an educator, right?
Yes.
What is it like for you oscillating between artist and educator?
It feels like they're one and the same. Like I feel like you can't be an artist and not be an educator because you're creating something that is being channeled through you, and it's almost your responsibility to not explain what it is, just creating it in itself is the education as well. And I also love working with community, and for me, we are all educating each other all the time. Like in my classes, it's not top down, I am teaching you and you are learning. It's we are teaching each other, whether that's the children or the adults. So I feel like it's all each one teach one. We're always educating. And my work before was more teaching hard skills like how to shade, how to paint, all these things. Now I care less about that, and I just want to encourage people to just pick up a paintbrush and just make something, you know? So a lot of my work currently is to just encourage the artist in all of us to liberate itself and to just express yourself. Because art belongs to all of us. We're all artists. And I want to do my part in liberating that creativity.
Wonderful. So you're also a tattoo artist.
Yes.
And what has that been like, that journey?
Amazing. That's relatively new. I've been tattooing for about 1.5 years, 2 years. And it's such a bizarre, surreal experience to see your art on someone's skin.
Yeah.
And for that trust, for them to be like, here's my whole arm, I want your art on it. Like, it's such an honor. And every time I'm tattooing someone, it's literally like carving like onto a stone, and it's permanent. And just there's a spiritual connection there with whoever I'm tattooing. Every tattoo that I've done, it's been such a beautiful connection. And the conversations that we have in it, it's interesting. You know that like how your barber is your therapist sometimes, how that's like a motif? It's the same with tattoo artists. Like something about that phenomena opens people up, and they pour their hearts out and like share with me what's so important to them and what they're getting tattooed, the symbolism of it, and like what really matters to them. And that's been so, it fills my heart.
That's really beautiful. Thank you. So you said that freedom makes you want to take up as much space as possible.
Yes.
And you've also done some mural work similarly to Samantha. I believe over the summer your work was displayed in Ossington
Station, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, well, congratulations on that.
Thank
That's
you so
huge.
much.
Also literally huge, because I was going to talk about scale.
Yes.
What is it
Yeah.
like working with such large scale? I know that you're a digital artist, so maybe it's a little bit different.
I love it. I want to go bigger. Like I want to go as big as possible. Yeah, it's very interesting. I spent, I think, 2.5 years just drawing on my iPad, mostly in my room. And it's a very different experience than being out in public, making artwork, and people in real time expressing to me how it makes them feel. It's such a beautiful experience, and I want to do that much more. And yeah, something about scale, like I really don't like marketing and commercials. And I feel like we're so inundated with advertisements, and I see that as a form of political violence. And I think instead of these ads that chip away at our self-esteem and force us to look at each other as divided and competition, we need to see beautiful art that encourages love. And I want to see more of that in public spaces. I don't think we should see any advertisements.
Great answer.
Thank you.
So do you have any artistic influences at all?
Absolutely. So yeah, the communities that I work with, especially artists that don't consider themselves artists, like adults that are like, I haven't painted in 20 years, I don't want to, and then they touch the brush to the canvas and they create something beautiful. That inspires me a lot. My friends are some of my biggest inspirations, like Samantha, like the other members of Astro Sankofa, like all my friends. There's so many to name. And yeah, I grew up very close to my abuelos, to my grandparents, and they were very heavily influenced by Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. So I grew up seeing those images. So that definitely influenced my art a lot. Going to Mexico and seeing all the beautiful colors, sitting with ayahuasca and seeing all of that magic, all of that has influenced me greatly.
Wonderful. Um, so I was wondering what you would like people to receive from this artwork whenever they view it.
Hmm. Something I like about my work is that there's many Easter eggs and many, many fine details, and you can spend a lot of time just looking at all of it. And I like that. I want people to really sit with it and see whatever they see. And I don't want to explain to them what it is. Something that I love about art galleries is someone will explain something to me in my piece that I didn't even see in a very real way, which speaks to the divinity of art creation. Like, it is all co-creation. It's not like I meant to do this. It was like I'm dancing with something else, and other people can point out things to me that I didn't even clock. So I really like that. I hope people can see the childlike energy from that and be inspired to take up space and to just be free. Like, it was important for me that this figure was androgynous but still had that childlike energy, because this really belongs to all of us. The bright colors behind it, I want people to be, like, blue and green make me very happy. Those colors remind me of nature, and there's some psychology behind that. So I want people to be soothed, to be connected to nature, and to take up space, to literally do that stance and see how it makes your body feel when you take up space in that way. That's what I want.
Great, thank you so much. And my final question is, what does it mean to be Black and free to you?
So I was sitting with this because something about Black and free feels like a limitation in itself. I draw a lot of power and pride from our people and all that like how far we've come, and how we've struggled so much, and yet our spirit has never been broken. So that's something that I definitely draw power from. And my definition of freedom transcends the label of Black, because to me that power speaks to human nature. Like, I feel equally proud of like the indigenous people of this land and how much they've had to overcome, and like all of the gender inequalities and the queer movements, like all of it. It all just speaks to the unbreakable human nature. And yeah, freedom to me goes beyond the label. True freedom is, I remember that we are the same. No matter who I'm sitting across from, we are all the same. There's no difference. That's an illusion that we've been taught. And similarly, not just humans, like we are no different than the flowers and the birds and the bees. It's gonna get really hippie, but like for me, that is freedom, you know? And this piece, the sun is called God's child, and I want us all to remember that we are God's children. And for me, God doesn't look like a human man in the sky. God is synonymous with nature, synonymous with the energy and vibration of love. And freedom is us all embodying that fully, you know? And it's a very radical definition of freedom. Radical in the sense of taking it from the roots, like Angela Davis says. We need to completely change how we see the education system. We cannot be free under capitalism. That all has to go. There's just so much that has to change. And I studied politics as well at York. You studied at York as well?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was fascinated with how can we be free from a young age. When I was a child, I was very aware that the world was unjust. And I was like, why? Like, why? Like, you guys are the adults. Why are you still living like slaves? You know, the 9 to 5. That is slavery to me. You know, it's not just enough. And that's something else about Black and free. It's like, it almost feels like we want the same freedom as our non-Black counterparts. And that's not enough for me. We are all not free, in my opinion. We deserve a more radical freedom. And studying politics taught me this. We have an abundance of resources, enough that we can all be wealthy, and then some. We have more than enough land. We have more than enough, and our technology. If we harmonize our technology with nature, we could be living like gods. In a very real way. We should be spending our days making art, making love, laughing, playing, like enjoying nature, waking up every day. Like Samantha said, when you're in Jamaica, the pace of life is slow, but it's richer. You know, you wake up excited to be like, what's next? That's also why I wanted the childlike energy to really speak. When you're a child, you're excited to start the day. What is this day gonna bring? The 9 to 5 robs us of that. And they start us out so young. Literally from grade 1, we're on a track of monotony, and we're not given a break to breathe and look around and say, what do I want for my life? What do I want for the collective? We're never given that. And I wish that for all of us. And I know we're stepping into that. So that is my radical definition of freedom, and that is what I wish for us all.
Very well said.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your artwork is incredible. You're an amazing artist. You're doing such revolutionary work, both in tattooing and in your literal art as well over here.
Thank you.
So thank you. And if you don't mind, we're just going to open the floor to some quick questions.
Absolutely, yeah.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Andre?
Hello. So you mentioned that you, I guess, have experimented with different mediums.
Mhm.
You mentioned you did charcoal earlier, you did photography, you're now in the digital space. What would you say is your favorite to, I guess, explore in, or that you always kind of like go back to because you know that one the best?
It's like choosing a favorite song. It's so hard to choose, but I will say drawing is always something I come back to. And you see that in my digital work, you see that in my murals, like the foundation of drawing. Because I've been drawing since I was a child, everything else is much more recent. But I can't limit myself. I do love it all. And it comes in seasons. Like last summer, like I said, I was really taken by sculpture and what that did to my mind and my spirit. And photography, the way that light plays with life, really took me in that season of my life. Now tattooing and murals has really taken me this year. Who knows what next year will bring? But it's not going to stop. I'm going to explore it all, everything that I want to explore at least. It's a good question. Thank you.
Hi, Andre. First of all, I want to congratulate you on such a beautiful and successful piece. And I'll also say this is very reflective of Andre. He is just such a, I would say, I would describe him as a ray of sunshine. Like everywhere he goes, like the positivity and the energy that he brings is just, it's infectious, you know, and you can't help but smile and laugh around him. And so just to be able to see that translated in your piece is just, it's so amazing. And then I also wanted to ask you a little bit, because I know that you talked about sculpture. Do you see yourself going back to sculpture? And because I feel like your work really does give me that it needs to be in a 3-dimensional form. I feel like it's something that shouldn't, it's not that it's contained to this 2D element, but I feel like I could see this as something that is 12 feet, 13, like huger than, bigger than what you're saying, not contained to this level of size. So do you see yourself branching into like sculptural work or translating more of your images into more 3-dimensional work? Okay.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And Samantha, thank you so much for those kind words. Absolutely, yeah. I see my sculptures being very big and also small enough that it can be in your home and everything in between. Because there's something about scale that can humble the human spirit and empower it. So I absolutely, yeah, the same as you. When I'm drawing these, I'm like, these need to be manifested in real, like in the real world. So yes, thank you. And I'm glad that you can see that too. Oh my God.
Do you see yourself going back and creating something in your homeland like this? Because I feel like it would really resonate with like your culture and just the impact that your trip during COVID had on you, and the fact that you were able to spend that time learning and just being in a different environment during COVID. And what was that experience even like, not being here, but being there during COVID? I know you spoke about it a lot, but like a lot of us that were here, or I'll even speak for myself, like it was a very scary experience being here during COVID. So how did you feel like the difference being there during COVID was?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. It was wild. COVID, yeah, like you said, alone was such a strange time for all of us. Stranger yet, I was in Costa Rica. So I was there for 14 months and then 4 months in Mexico, like back to back. And the greatest thing about this is that I wasn't working for that whole time. So that experience alone of waking up every day and choosing what I wanted to do, most people don't get that freedom in their entire lives. So that completely changed the way I see the worth of my time and what I'm here to do. And I'm a city boy. I grew up in Toronto. So living on the land, I connected with nature. Like, similar to when people are like, I found God in nature, and like in such a beautiful way. And I literally lived off the land. In my house, there was a lime tree growing through my window, and I was cooking, and then I just picked it from the tree, and I had cacao trees on my property. And just, it was like a CBS show. I would bike down the road and say hi to everybody. Everybody was just vibrant and alive. And it's like, this is what life could be for all of us right now. So that completely changed my life and raised the standard for what I want my life to be and what I want all of our lives to look like. And before I experienced that in real life, someone couldn't explain what that's like to me. You have to experience it. So part of the work I want to do in this life is help people experience that, to touch that, the potential of what life can look like. And what was the other part of your question? Oh, yes. So my plan is to travel the world and have those cultures influence my work. Like in Costa Rica, my work completely changed because I'm a sponge. I like the shamanic journeys that I went on, the nature and the colors and the art of those people influenced my work. I've never actually been to my own homelands, which is Chile, Peru, Trinidad, Jamaica. Jamaica's this year. And yeah, I want all of it to influence me. And then I want to go to Africa, and then Asia, and then Europe, because I also see, like I said before, my identity transcends all of these labels. I see myself as a being of the world, not even a human of the world. I'm a being of this world. So all of the cultures that exist in time and space belong to me in a very real way. And I think it's my duty, especially now that we're free to fly. Our ancestors couldn't have traveled the world. They can go to one place maybe, or two places, but that takes their whole life to get there. We can see everything, and I feel like I owe it to my ancestors to see as much as I can and let that be channeled in my artwork and help other people do the same. So that's what I want to do. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I think we're out of time now.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions, and thank you, Andre, for your thoughtful answers.
Thank you.
I don't know if you want to shout out your social media.
Yeah, is it up here? Can we get it up here or no? Okay, so my social media is at Sun of Aquarius, Sun, S-U-N, of Aquarius. And if I can briefly explain that. So I don't know if you've heard of the Age of Aquarius, but the idea of the Age of Aquarius is this new era that we're stepping into. And it's an era of liberation, radical liberation, like heaven on earth. And that is what I serve in my life. So that's why it's S-U-N of Aquarius. The website's coming soon. So follow me on Instagram, and then you will soon see all of my work and my portfolio on my website as well. And I think that's all I have to shout out. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.